Hey everyone, it's Maria, and today I am filming in my bedroom. Hopefully it won't throw you off too much with the lighting, but I did want to share with you the books that I've already finished this month because I have a lot more reading that I'm doing next week, and the list is already pretty good and long, and I don't want to take too long of a video. So here is set one of December reads. I'm doing pretty well on my TBR. So the first book is actually a middle grade novel that I got. I wanted to preview it before I purchased it for my niece, and I actually bought it for her in Spanish. It is The First Rule of Punk by Celia Perez, and it was great. In it, Malu is a Mexican-American teenager. Her dad considers himself punk as his ethnicity, and her mom is what she calls super Mexican because she's very proud of her Mexican heritage. And Malu is kind of having a hard time, as you do in middle school, trying to figure out what she is and where she fits. Her mom is much more feminine, and Malu is not so much, and so there's kind of some tension there. She also has to move to a new school, and it's kind of a little bit about finding your place and your people. There's some great bits about different great Latino Americans that are musicians. She talks a lot about zine making and even shows you how to do it in there, which is really cool. It's a little bit about activism, speaking up for yourself. There's all the things that I love about books. Diversity, DIY, plus like history stuff and activism all rolled into this nice little book. It was great, and I'm really excited to give it to, I guess I already gave it to my niece because her birthday is beginning of December. I can't remember what I got her for Christmas versus her birthday, but I bought it for her in Spanish. Celia Perez is very good about making sure, this is her first book. She also has a second one out called Strange Birds that I want to pick up. But she wanted to make sure that they were printed in both Spanish and English. My niece is half Mexican, half Guatemalan, and so they speak Spanish at home. She goes to immersion school, but I know my sister said she needed more Spanish chapter books to read, so I made sure that I purchased Spanish books for her, and I'm really, really excited about her getting a chance to read this so I can talk to her about it, because it's also about some of the stuff that she's kind of working through right now, as you do in middle school. So highly recommend. Can't wait to pick up the second one. And Vanessa at Split Read said the second one's just as good, so I'm pretty pumped. This next one I finished last night. This is Miracles and Other Reasonable Things, A Story of Unlearning and Relearning God by Sarah Bessey. I enjoy Sarah Bessey. I've listened to her speak before. I don't always agree with absolutely everything she thinks theologically, but I appreciate that she's a questioner and she's willing to kind of stand up and say what she thinks and not be afraid of hard conversations. It was a short book. I read it in, I think, 2 days, and I was busy on those 2 days. It's kind of about how she had a car accident as well as several hard family things all happen at once, how she negotiated working through them. She went and met the Pope. She met some other people who kind of helped her with the struggle that she was having at the time, kind of coming to grips with changing bodies and changing circumstances. There were certain things that I enjoyed about it, like the fact that as we get older and things happen, sometimes you do have to step back and say, I know I used to be able to do this, but I can't anymore. Or this is my body and I have to live with this right now. We've had a lot of that in our family with some medical diagnoses. And so I appreciated that part. I think it kind of lost the thread a little bit at the end for me, just because there was, I don't know, it felt like the transition was a little rocky. So it wasn't, I know a lot of people are really loving it as one of her favorite books that she's written. It was all right for me, but you know, to each their own. If you are somewhat religious and trying to figure out kind of how to negotiate, this was a good one. I also really like the book, Everything Happens for a Reason and Other Lies I Used to Believe. I don't remember who wrote that one, but that one's, I think, did that kind of thing better. So next up is How to Read Nature, Awaken Your Senses to the Outdoors You've Never Noticed by Tristan Gooley. I binged at the library and got a whole bunch of Tristan Gooley books because I'm taking a Master Naturalist course, and I kind of feel like I should like really dive in. This was a good book, very short again, which is one of the reasons I'm doing so well with my December TBR is I have a lot of short ones mixed with a lot of really long ones. So I think it's been helpful to kind of have that balance. The things that I really took away from this is that every time you're out in nature, you're never experiencing the same thing twice. And I think that's kind of a cool idea, to go into nature realizing that because of atmosphere pressure and the seasons changing and habitat and animals, like you're never going to have the same nature walk twice. And so you really need to go into a nature walk thinking, what am I seeing? How is it different than what I've noticed before? And what is drawing your attention in? So I really think he's got some great books, and I can't wait to pick up the ones that really go into the depth of like noticing nature, because I'm trying. Next up is Everyday Sketching and Drawing, 5 Steps to a Unique and Personal Sketchbook Habit by Stephen Reddy. I love sketching. I love doodling. I love doing art, and I love journaling. Sometimes I have a hard time keeping the habit though, and so this is my attempt at, again, trying to keep familiarizing myself with other people's habits so I can do better. The thing I took away from this is just do it. Again, Nike doesn't always get it wrong. Sometimes you do just have to do it and stop reading about it. And so I've picked up my sketchbook a few more times than I usually do because of this book. I'm going to keep going. And as all the other habit forming books that I've read this year, if I miss a day, I miss a day. You pick it up the next day that you can, and that's how you form a habit. You don't just give up and say, well, yes, I missed my streak. You do your best. So it did have some practical tips in here. Very beautiful book. You can kind of see lots of different sketchbook artists' work. It talked about kind of how you could plan a page quickly with pencil, and then how you add in different pen and paint and India ink to kind of change it. So if you are interested in that, I think it's a good book to pick up. It's very beautiful. This next book is one of my favorite books of the year. This is I think it's late enough to say that, The Power of Moments by Chip Heath and Dan Heath. This book, I wrote down several things that I really wanted to share with you from it. It took a lot of things that I've read in other books and synthesized it. I mean, this is not long. Synthesized the information really, really well. And it was funny because a couple times I was reading through, I was like, oh, this reminds me of this book, or this reminds me of this person and this podcast. And at the end with the resources, there were several of them mentioned. So I also love that. Anytime an author points to other places to get information, it's pretty great. So the things I definitely wanted to mention is, I think this book, I haven't even told you what it's about. The Power of Moments is basically how you take ordinary moments, remember them better, design them better, plan them better so that they stick not only for your life but other people that you're trying to affect. This would be great for business leaders. This would be good for educators. This would be good for parents. This would be good for you. Like anybody who is trying to make an impact or a change for the better, I guess for the worse, but please don't. We have enough of that in the world. This is just a nice little handbook for that. So the first couple things that they talk about is elevating the experience, heightening the senses. The things that stick out for people are when things are a little bit different than what you expect. So break the script. So if there's an ordinary business meeting that you're used to going to and you feel like you're not getting as much out of your team, then put it in a different setting, or have music playing, or have a fancy snack. Do something completely different. Julie Bogart with Brave Learner and Brave Writer did a great job of talking about poetry tea time and how as educators it's important to, bring the brownies, make the treats, do the book club party, because those are the things that stick in your head. Honestly, as an educator, one of the best things that I've done is we do book club parties and badge club. Those are things that we regularly do to try and kind of make an event of something that we're working on learning. And those are the things that I know my kids are going to remember much more than if I were to just have a book quiz at the end of a chapter, or at the end of a book. So elevating the experience. They talk. There's two. I think they're a dad and a son, but they talk about boosting the senses, raising stakes. So they had educators who would do kind of a trial for for humanity. And I thought that was really cool. They had different people that were assigned to kind of be key witnesses in why humanity is good or bad. It kind of reminded me of The Good Place a little bit, which is a show my kids and I like to watch. So, and those kids are still going to keep talking about those things. The things I remember from school are when I remember Mrs. Witt running around the room with different walks, including a chicken walk, to talk about what the meaning of the word gate was, G-A-I-T. I'm never going to forget the meaning of the word gate because she walked around the room like a chicken. It's the little things, isn't it? So yeah, just kind of breaking the script, doing something unexpected. The other things he talked about, backwards goal making. They met with several, I think again, educators in this case, but they might have been business leaders, saying, what are your goals for your students or your people? And they would mention things like be able to think well, be able to reason, be able to make an argument. And they said, what are you doing in your curriculum now to reach those goals? And it was all content. It wasn't meeting any of those goals. And so they were saying, so you need to look at what you're trying to do and, design the goal backwards. That I've actually been better at doing in the last few years. At the beginning of the school year, I always try and figure out what I want them to learn and skills that I want to be mastered. I have a list. And then every couple weeks I look through and figure out, are there things that I'm doing that are going towards these or not? And do I need to change course? The other thing, multiply milestones. This reminded me of Jane McGonigal's book, Super Better, which was one of my favorite books, period. Gamification, leveling up. The idea of don't make a goal of lose 30 pounds. Make a goal of I would like to be able to do a plank for 5 minutes without stopping. I would like to be able to do a 5K with my friend. I would like to be able to do a pull-up. The thing that, that I would like to be able to do by the end of next year, which I don't even know if it's reasonable because I don't even really have a yoga practice right now, if I'm honest. I don't. I want to do a headstand. I've always wanted to do a headstand, like always. So I'm going to work on trying to do a headstand, and we'll put that out there in the world and maybe it'll happen. So just little things like that is think of goals that kind of fill that box and then figure out what you can do to check the box. And the other thing was practicing courage. The authors talk about how in a situation where they had a meeting with a plant of somebody who's willing to say the wrong answer, people are more willing to go against the crowd if there's one person who's already done it. Practice courage. And again, I read a lot of books on courage and mastering fear this year. And so that's kind of wrapped a little bit of that into there. So anyway, I really recommend The Power of Moments. It was a good one to pick up. The other books that I finished, because the only one I finished on audio so far is 10% Better by Dan Harris. Yes, Dan Harris. He also had 10% Happier, by Dan Harris. He also has a podcast where he interviews different people. He is a newscaster who had a nervous breakdown on camera. If you look it up on YouTube, you'll find it. And he has done his best to try and focus on mindfulness, meditation practice. He did a book, I don't remember who his co-author was, but he did a book where they talk about mindfulness, meditation practices. I listened to the audio, which is great because they actually walk you through several meditations that they created. And they did a tour around the States trying to talk to different beginners about meditation. And I like it because the subtitle is A Skeptic's Guide to Practicing Mindfulness Meditation. And I'm so bad at sitting still and the idea of meditating, but I know it's important. So I finished that book on audio, I think a week and a half ago, and I've already started to notice differences. I don't do it start small. First thing, try for 5 minutes. It's better to start small and create momentum instead of saying, I'm going to do 20 minutes a day and then do it for 2 days and then fail. So I really recommend, if you are at all interested in mindfulness or meditation, it was a great listen to, read to. I'm encouraging my husband, who also is kind of feeling like he should meditate, to read it. So Aaron, if you're listening, pick it up. It's worth it. He's listening. I know he always says. So, and then I have a couple books that I'm really close to finishing. Voyager by Diana Gabaldon, which is the third Outlander, and Team of Rivals. Guys, I'm almost done with Team of Rivals by Doris Kearns Goodwin on audio. I've tried reading that book for it's just a million years. It's just so long. So I'm doing it. So I will talk to you all later. It's already a long video. I'm sorry. Have a great Christmas. If this is the last one you watch before Christmas, if you do Christmas, if you don't, have a great week. And it's almost a new decade. So yay. Bye.